Yo, what it do, YouTube? It's BGT. The whole point of basketball is in the name. You gotta put the ball in the basket. And because of that, an argument could be made that shooting is the most valuable skill in the game.
Stop the cap.
When you're a shooter, it makes defenders have to follow you around screens. And it even forces urgent and panicked closeouts that you can take advantage of with pump fakes and drives to the basket. As a shooter, you're even a threat when you don't have the ball, because you pull your matchup away from playing help defense, which opens up the floor and makes it easier to score inside.
You're goddamn right.
So today, I'm going to share my biggest shooting secret that turned me into a knockdown shooter and allowed me to shoot 50% from 3 during my season at Georgian College.
Damn!
Are you ready? Drum roll, please. The secret to becoming a sniper in basketball is arc. I want to introduce you guys to my friend who's one of the best shooters I know, so that you can understand it's not just me who prioritizes arc, but so do the guys at those high levels many of us aspire to reach.
My name's Simon Chamberlain. I was born in Guelph, Ontario. I play basketball at Toronto Metropolitan University. I'm going to talk to you about the importance of shooting with arc. Having the proper arc on your shot is actually just as important as good mechanics. The ball needs to arc high enough that it has a good chance of falling into the basket. Studies have shown that about 45 degrees is the perfect angle for shooting.
Hey, thanks for that. I wish you the best of luck in your upcoming season. Now let's take a look at my training session with Sam, where our focus is improving his shooting mechanics. It's all shooting today. We're all just working on your form today. Trying to get continuous, smooth, high release point, pushing the ball up into the air, making it drop into the basket. The first thing I noticed in Sam's shot is that his arm points too far forward, which results in a flat shot. So instead, I encourage Sam to point his arm up into the sky so it's somewhere more along this green line. This is essential for producing optimal arc. Now, Simon, who's 6'8", learned that the optimal shooting arc is around 45 degrees. But when I train people, they're typically between the ages of 8 and 18, and they tend to be under 6'4". So I implore them to have an even higher arc due to this video from Sports Science.
On a three-point shot, Curry typically releases the ball between 50 and 55 degrees. At just 6'3", 4 inches shorter than the NBA average. Not only does this higher trajectory help him shoot over taller defenders, it also creates a larger target at the other end of the parabola. Compared to a flatter 45-degree release, Curry's ball approaches the rim at a steeper angle, which essentially increases the area the ball could pass through the hoop by 19%.
This breakdown tells us that going from a 45 to 55 degree arc causes a 19% increase in how much room the ball has to enter the basket. That's crazy, especially when considering the fact that most of the people I work with have an even flatter shot than 45 degrees. I would say on average, it ranges from something like 40 to 30 degrees. So if someone like that gets optimal arc, we are talking about a 40 to 50% increase in how much room the ball has to enter the rim.
Lord have mercy, I'm about to bust.
And I know, that doesn't mean someone's shooting percentage will increase by 40%, but them making 30% of that new 40% is realistic. And if my math is correct, which I think it is because I use Google, that equates to a 12% increase in their shooting percentage. To better understand how significant that is, consider this example. Imagine someone who shoots 25% from 3 with a relatively flat shot. By optimizing their arc and getting that 12% increase in their shooting percentage, they would become a 37% three-point shooter.
Oh my God! Wow!
That's like going from mediocre, where the coach has you riding the bench, to becoming one of the best shooters in the league, where coach is drawing up plays for you.
Write that down, write that down!
With that said, I hope you can see now why arc should be your biggest focus when working on your shot. And now I'm going to elaborate on how you can do this by giving you guys a roadmap to help refine your form and get to that lucrative goal of having a high arcing shot. Step 1, finish with your hand high in the sky. Here are some examples of my shooting so you can see how I consistently finish with my arm and hand above my head. Every shot consists of my arm locking out along this very vertical line that is only slightly angled toward the rim. Now let's look at the pros, and who better to study than the Splash Bros. Here we see Steph, the GOAT of shooting, locking out his arm in similar fashion. Here's another angle where we can clearly see his hand finish high in the sky. His arm is very vertical with a slight angle toward the basket. Same goes for Clay. We see the same details, a very vertical arm, slightly angled to the basket, and his hand finishes high in the sky. Step number 2 is using your wrist and fingers to flick the ball and then holding your follow through. A forceful wrist flick where the ball rolls off our index and middle finger is what projects the ball forward. It is then crucial to finish with our wrist and fingers flicked all the way down. Many coaches call this cue having your hand in the cookie jar. And I want you to notice all of these elements here in my shooting examples. Now, going back to the Splash Bros, let's look at their wrist flick and follow through. No surprises here with Steph. There's a forceful wrist flick followed by having his hand in a cookie jar. And as for Clay, it's the same thing. He finishes with his fingers facing at the basket and pointing down. Additionally, notice how the ball rolls off his fingers when he flicks his wrist. After these ingredients, we have our finished product, the flight of the ball. Watch the parabola I create here with my shots. All of them go above the backboard, which is something you can use as a frame of reference to judge your own arc. In these clips, you can also see the consistency of those parabolas as the ball follows a very similar path each time. Whenever I'm working with somebody on their shot, these are the details I consistently teach and repeat. With Sam, we can start to see it paying off as his arm begins finishing a little higher than before. But now, I want to point out how Sam's arm falls down after he releases the ball. I see this all the time with the people I work with, and what it tells me is that they're still pushing forward with their arm rather than pushing up. If you recall what I said earlier in the video, we know that the upward extension of our arm and elbow is what gets us that optimal arc, whereas the flick of our wrist is what projects the ball forward. Well, after a deeper analysis of Sam's form, I realized that the reason he still pushes forward with his arm is because his arm comes backward during a shot, as you can see here. See this backward motion? It interferes with our ability to produce the upward momentum required for optimal arc. And to explain this a little deeper with some science, I'd like to introduce you guys to another friend of mine, Michael Dixon.
Michael the science guy. Michael the science guy. Michael the science guy.
Science rule.
Michael the science guy.
Inertia is a property of matter.
Michael the science guy. Michael the science guy.
Hey everybody, I am a friend of Ben's. My name's Michael Dixon. I'm a Conestoga College graduate from the Civil Engineering Technology program, and I am a physics enthusiast. I love pretty much everything physics.
Yes, science!
I use physics quite a bit every day at work. When we're working construction sites, we have to deal with a lot of forces with soils and different forces bearing down on everything to make sure that our job site's going to be safe.
Okay.
Today I'm going to kind of help explain why we want to shoot a basketball up as opposed to launching it forward. When you go and launch a basketball, what happens is you have more of a horizontal force going.
Oh my God, what is that? Oh my God, what is that?
And this causes a greater change of momentum in that horizontal direction. And what's going to happen when you shoot that ball like that, it's going to bounce off the rim, the backboard, whatever, and it's going to come back out at that same direction. And that's typically going to cause the ball to not bounce into the basket where we want it to go. What we're looking for is something like this. So in this scenario, we've got more of an upwards force in the Y direction than we do in the X direction. You can see there's a little tiny FX down there. All right, and this is going to cause less of a momentum change in that horizontal direction, so that when we shoot the ball and it hits off the rim or off the backboard, typically that's what's going to happen. It's going to bounce back up and then back into the rim because of the shape of the ball and the shape of the rim.
Nice.
Hey, big ups to my man Michael, the science guy. Now, Sam, who I know will watch this video because I will make him watch it, and anybody else who might be doing the same thing as him, you may want to consider taking out that backwards motion in your shot and instead use your arm to just go straight up into the air. That's going to be really key for getting that arc. Now, regardless of that, we can certainly see some improvements here in Sam's shot after our session together. His arm is slightly more vertical. His flick is not only more forceful, but he holds his follow through by having his hand in the cookie jar. And finally, he keeps his arm raised a little bit more than before. The lack of these details initially caused Sam to have a flat arc, which we now know shrinks how much room the ball has to enter the basket. But after the implementation of what I said in this video, Sam successfully creates that higher arc, which gives him more room for error and increases his shooting percentage. So the takeaway from this video is that a high arc should be the most important thing we strive for with regards to our shooting. And the details of finishing high into the sky, flicking our wrist and fingers, and holding our follow through is my roadmap for you as you continue on the journey towards mastering the art of shooting. Look, every coach wants to have snipers on the floor, but to become one, it takes more than just watching a video. You need to be dedicated to repping out these details over and over again in order to ingrain them into your muscle memory. That's why I invested in this shooting gun, so that my training can be more efficient by getting up tons of reps in a short amount of time. If you want some private training like Sam had in this video, or if you want to join a group session through one of the clubs I coach at, message me on Instagram so I can give you the details like cost, location, and time. Other than that, you guys know what it is. Let's keep getting better every day, y'all. And remember, it's bigger than basketball.
I used to feel so devastated.